So you're saying that people can really fast for 40 days? Or was it only in those times? Or which one is it? Can they or can't they?
If you look at the science and say, hey, chemistry says fat plus oxygen equals food and water that is created by your own body, and you can live off of that for a decent amount of time till your fat runs out. So let's say you are a full weight, healthy adult male with like 20% body fat. How many days will it take you to get to 0% body fat?
So you have to have a lot of cushion to go 40 days, no?
You've got to build up that cushion. And then how much you have trained in that will determine how long that cushion lasts. Because as you train anything or any aspect of the human body, you can train to go longer and longer without food or water. If you train for generations at a time in a desert nomadic society that's used to going without food or water because, hey, they're living in the desert, they don't have much food and they don't have much water.
We would obviously right now we would be able to do the same thing if we had to. So what would you say the benefits are besides losing the weight?
So there's two main categories of diseases, and there's two major categories of self-improvement. There is the physical and the mental. Fasting is something that helps on both levels. It keeps the mental diseases away, and it also has been scientifically proven to increase intelligence. For diseased people, it's been physically proven to say, hey, being skinny is healthier than being overweight. Diabetes, the most common illness in America, or at least type 2 diabetes, is always linked to obesity. In study after study after study, we've seen the link between diabetes and obesity. Instead of thinking about it as a weight loss mechanism, which it is, you lose about 2 pounds a day while you're fasting, a pound to 2 pounds, depending on how much you've done it, what your obesity level is, or what your weight index is. But generally speaking, if you're water fasting, you're losing about a pound of fat per day. And if you are dry fasting, and depending on your activity level, you can go more than a pound of fat just to keep you alive.
What happens after you do that and then you go back to eating? Obviously, you want to change what you're eating as well to make that weight loss effective.
Everything in this world goes in cycles. So I think of the body as in cycle. There's the winter and the summer season, and there's the seasons of the body as well, where you're going from being skinny to being fat to being skinny. Like food abundance is a modern thing. Most of human history, people would go days or weeks between meals. Think about like, why do we eat 3 times a day? Like, who came up with this idea?
Honestly, I talked to my son about it. I'm like, you really don't need 3 meals. If I eat like at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm hungry at like 11 or 12. If I don't eat in the morning, like I said, I could go till 2 or even 5. So who did come up with the 3-meal thing? And why?
It was the American settlers who were trying to show the Native Americans that they were more civilized. So the Europeans are coming over from Europe and they're like, hey, look at these savages that are living in the trees. We're more civilized. We eat 3 meals a day. And they came up with the term breakfast or break of the fast because you fasted all night. But then like you think about it and you're like, wait, but is that healthy for you? Not really. In the modern world, they're like, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. But really, yeah, it can be, but it doesn't have to be in the morning.
So it really doesn't matter if you don't have breakfast because you could break fast at any time of the day when your body is actually ready for it.
And the longer you can train your body to say, hey, I don't necessarily need to eat. Like so many people are like, especially with the OMAD diet or 1 meal per day being popularized in the modern world, you're like, okay, well, that's a really popular diet. But then we're still falling into this old rhythm of thinking that we have to eat every day.
Right, but I've also heard that if you don't eat, then it manipulates the body to hold fat. So it slows down the process of it breaking down. What would you say about that?
I always say check your sources, right? Who's telling you that eating 3 meals a day is good for you? And who are the people telling you that fasting is good for you? I've got about 5,000 years of human history and literally every religion that I could get my hands on saying fasting is good for you in various forms, various time periods, and various rituals. While modern science is telling me like, don't fast, don't do that, don't do that. That's an eating disorder. And you're like, wait, but 5,000 years of human history is wrong and you're telling me like this is right, but then the majority, and I'm saying over 50% of America is overweight. That's not me saying it, that's the CDC. But the one thing is that they tell you not to do is don't stop eating. And you're like, wait, but how am I supposed to lose the weight if I don't stop eating?
For somebody who doesn't fast and hasn't done it and wants to practice this, how do they get started? Do you go cold turkey? Do you go with a water fast first, or do you do a dry fast? What is the process that you would recommend? Go to part 3 of this interview to learn how to train your body to master the skill of fasting, which can help improve your intelligence, fight off mental disease, and continued weight loss.